Hi, Merry Christmas, everybody. I'm Danielle Heckert. Danielle Heckert. Some of you that are friends on Facebook are aware. At some point, hopefully soon, I would like to start experimenting with streaming some of the music that I make. Typically, I just record a video, upload it, etc. I'd like to go live. I have some ideas about how the basic format I would do, and so tonight I'd like to try that out and post like a longer video, a longer section of songs. I'm probably gonna have to break it off in the middle because I don't believe my phone's storage is enough to hold the entire thing. Also, I might cry. Just because I cried like 4 times preparing for this. But having said that, though, it's important to point out I'm doing great. You know, I feel good, mentally, emotionally, supported. I'm in a very good place. So just don't be worried about me as I do this. All right. I guess with that, let's get started. Lifetime of yesterday and all the wasted time on my hands turns to sand and fades in the wind, crossing lines, small crimes, taking back what was mine. I'm right where I should be, and don't try and fix me. So lost for so long to find my place, but I failed to follow, and I'm out of place, crossing lines, small crime, taking back what was mine, 'cause I'm finding the fire, I feed on the friction, I'm right where I should be, don't try and fix me, I'm finding the fire, I feed on the friction, I'm right where I should be, but don't try and fix me. All right, so the first respirator was invented by a Scottish scientist by the name of John Scott Haldane. Haldane had been brought in a number of times during World War I to study the effects of the chemical weapons and the gases that sides were using against each other in the trenches, kind of for the first time during that war. John Haldane and his son had both been very interested in diving and some other related areas of human respiration. They were both renowned scientists and still are. So even before World War I, which was roughly, 1916, 1918, right around the time of the Spanish flu, Haldane once locked himself into a sealed chamber and filled it with carbon monoxide so that he could take detailed notes of the effect that the poison was actively having on his body. And according to health codes and fire codes at least, each one of us today now has a carbon monoxide alarm in our house to warn us of the coming risk of death. And for that we have Haldane to thank for the sacrifices he made. And his son. He worked on his son too. In 1913, Haldane also proposed the idea of using what he called sentinel animals. He had studied mining. It wasn't a new thing, but like with the Industrial Revolution, coal mines in particular were relatively new, and they were finding new dangers, specifically carbon monoxide, which is why he was looking at that. The problem is, by the time you realize you're being poisoned, it's often too late, hence the alarms. So, yeah, he suggested these sentinel animals just had faster and more sensitive metabolisms, so their systems would react, and you could visibly see these animals being poisoned just like you were, but it was much quicker. So the humans down in the coal mines had time to respond and to get out while they could still escape safely. Now, there are those among us with a heightened sensitivity towards some of the baseline dangers just of being human. One such sensitivity I am personally intimately familiar with is clinical depression and other mood disorders. Personally, I'm bipolar, so I phase in and out of it, thankfully. So yeah, the following is a quote on the same subject by another person who fought with a similar dilemma until the day that he died. He said, "My whole life, I've just felt a little off. I find myself getting into these patterns of behavior or thought, especially when I'm stuck up here in my head. I like to say that, this is like a bad neighborhood inside my mind, and I just should not go walking there alone." The quote was by Chester Bennington, personal hero of mine. And this next song is kind of a memory of him and his band Linkin Park. There we go. Take me down to the riverbend. Take me down to the fighting end. Wash the poison from off my skin. Show me how to be whole again. Fly me up on the silver wing. I'll pass the block where the sirens sing. Warm me up in the Nova's glow. Then drop me down to the dreams below. 'Cause I'm only a crack in this castle of glass. Hardly anything there for you to see. For you to see. Bring me home in a blinding dream, through the secrets that I have seen. Wash the sorrow from off my skin, and show me how to be whole again. 'Cause I'm only a crack in this castle of glass. Hardly anything there for you to see. For you to see. castle of glass, and hardly anything else I need to be. 'Cause I'm only a crack in this castle of glass. Hardly anything there for you to see, for you to see. Sentinel animals continued to be the industry standard in the coal mining industry for detecting gas until the 1980s. At which point there were electronic devices which had come far enough along to replace the practice. But the concept still is around in our culture. You've probably heard the phrase, the canary in the coal mine. That's what this was. They typically used little white mice, or else canaries were both small and had fast enough metabolisms to be valuable. And the basic paradigm, as I alluded earlier, also lives on in the fact that these baseline dangers in our human world today, they're affecting all of us, but at different rates. And just like they say, a rising tide lifts all boats, and kind of a reverse of that way, you know, the darkness and the toxicity in just the air and the culture around us, it's killing everybody. But there are those among us that are sort of quietly fading much, much faster. The National Bureau of Economic Research processed some CDC data, and they published a study in 2019 that said, and I quote, between 2014 and 2017, overall life expectancy in the US fell for 3 consecutive years, reversing a century-long trend of steadily declining mortality rates. In other words, coincidentally, you know, in just last year, they looked at the numbers and realized that basically after the arrival of sentinel animals, you know, it was roughly that time period. There's no connection, obviously, but human life expectancy had gone up and up and up. You know, we had the Industrial Revolution, everything was getting great, everything was going better, until after 100 years of climbing, they looked at their notes and realized it's been going down 3 years now, and that's just the most recent data that we have. Suicide rates in 2014, there were 43,000 suicides. 2018 saw 48,000. So from 99 to 14, the overall rate of suicides rose by 24%. If you're a US military veteran, you have double the baseline rate for risk of suicide. Also, fun note, beginning in 2012 was the first year that more veterans died by their own hand to suicide and mental health issues than were killed in combat by any enemy. And that was just the first year. Every single year since then, that margin has got worse and worse. If you're in the LGBTQ plus community, that risk is roughly 3 times the baseline regular rate. Male veterinarians, twice the rate. Female veterinarians, 3.5 times that rate. Speaking of gender disparity, females on the autism spectrum are at 3 times the normal risk of suicide. Anyone with ADHD is between 3 and 5 times more likely to take their own life. And the worst of all, honestly, you guys, like, I want to eventually stream music. I seriously considered leaving all the depressing shit out, but then I saw the following. August 2020, 4 months ago, the CDC conducted a survey and found that 25% of American adults between the ages of 18 to 24% had seriously considered suicide in the last 30 days. So between sometime in July and August, 1 in 4. How many sets of 4 people do you know in that age group or overall? This is a growing problem, and I know things are really bad right now, but it's not just the virus, you guys. It's how we are. It's how we treat each other. It's how we don't treat each other. Back to Chester. And this is the part where, honestly, I'm going to cry. So the part I read earlier was an interview that he gave sometime, I believe, in the first half of 2017. Well, on the morning of May 18th, 2017, Chester Bennington posted to his Twitter a touching farewell message. His longtime friend Chris Cornell, who was the lead singer of Soundgarden and Audioslave, as of 12:15, 15 minutes after midnight that morning, they found him in his hotel bedroom or bathroom with an exercise band around his neck. Self-inflicted death. Obviously, he had just played a huge show the night before, but he was just done. So Chester's message that day, I can't possibly read it all, honestly, but parts of it. He said, "Thoughts of you flooded my mind, and I wept. I'm still weeping, with sadness, as well as gratitude for having shared some very special moments with you and with your beautiful family. You've inspired me in many ways you could never have known. Your talent was pure and unrivaled. Your voice was joy and pain, anger and forgiveness, love and heartache all wrapped up into one. I suppose that's what we all are, and you helped me understand that." And this is just being a few years ago. Most of you are old enough to know already how this story ends. So that was May 18th. 63 days later, June 20th, which would have been, Chris Cornell, it would have been his 53rd birthday, had he survived, which obviously was a hard morning for Chester because Chester left us too that morning. Those of us with mood disorders or other issues, we're still basically human. We all have the same basic needs. We're just the sentinels, you guys. We have a more rapid cycle of dying off from it. We deteriorate faster to these things. In a sense, like I said, the air around us is killing all of us, and we have the honor, the curse of being that warning for the rest of you, and hopefully we can all learn together in time. So this will be the last song, and I managed not to cry, so good job, Jenny. I had a dream about a burning house. You were stuck inside, who couldn't get you out. I laid beside you and I held you close, and the two of us went up in smoke. But love isn't all that it seems. I did you wrong, but I'll stay with you until this dream is gone. But I've been sleepwalking and wandering all the nights, trying to take what's lost and broke and make it right. I've been sleepwalking too close to the fire, and it's the only way that I can hold you tight. In this burning house, take you back, but people don't ever change. I just wish that we could go back in time. I could be the one you thought you'd find, but love isn't all that it seems. I did you wrong. I'll stay here with you until this dream is gone. And I've been sleepwalking, wandering all night, just trying to take what's lost and broke and make it right. I've been sleepwalking, too close to the fire, and it's the only way that I can hold you tight. In this burning house, I've been sleepwalking and wandering all night, trying to take what's lost and broke and make it right. Love isn't all that it seems. I did you wrong. Stay here with you until this dream is gone. Alright, I'm almost done. Glenn Greenwald is a journalist, author, and a lawyer, an attorney. I think he made the best quote to sort of wrap this up. He said, in a remotely healthy society, one that provides basic emotional needs to its population, suicide and serious suicidal ideation are rare events. It is anathema to the most basic human instinct, the will to live. It is anathema to the basic human instinct, the will to live. Sorry, I said that a little bit wrong. A society in which such a vast swath of the population is seriously considering it as an option is one which is anything but healthy, one which is plainly failing to provide its citizens the basic necessities for a fulfilling life. You guys just didn't start this spring. I mean, we are more distanced, hopefully, or more separated just for safety's sake and responsibility's sake, but like we've had some of these struggles for a long time, and this is just, in a way it's good, it's bringing it to light, right? But I guess the note I want to end on, we're distanced, but we're not alone. All right, those of you who are feeling lonely, who are feeling isolated by all of this, we're all still here. You know, we're all under the same skies, we're all on the same internet. Most of us are very close to each other. You know, you've got neighbors 30 feet away in the other house. Just don't suffer in silence. Don't fade quietly into the night. You know, you reach out for the help that you need, and you know, someone will be there. Thank you. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. Bye.
I don't know if anybody out there can relate, but like I have a hard time with life sometimes. Right. Sometimes it's great, but a lot of times for me it's really hard. And no matter how I'm feeling, like I always find myself like struggling with certain patterns of behavior. I find myself like stuck in like the same thing that keeps repeating over and over again, and I'm just like, how am I in this? And it's that moment where you're in it, and then you kind of separate yourself from that situation, and you look at it, and you see it for what it is, and you're able to then do something about it. Like you've now broken out of that circle, that cycle. And
are you kind of, because the first couple of lines on the track make me think that you are like overthinking things in your life? Is it like you're
It could be.
Overanalyzing
I mean,
yourself?
honestly, like there's so many circumstances that for me that relate to this situation, but like I know that for me, when I'm inside myself, when I'm in my own head, it gets this place right here, this skull between my ears. That is a bad neighborhood, and I should not be in there alone. I can't be in there by
What are
myself.
you talking about? You just.
It's
You're
insane.
crazy, man.
It's crazy in here. This is a bad place for me to be by myself. And so when I'm in that, like my whole life gets thrown off. Like if I'm in there, like I don't say nice things to myself. Like there's another Chester in there that's like wants to take me down. And so, and I find that it could be whether it's substances or whether it's behavior or whether it's like depressive stuff or whatever it is. Like if I'm not like actively like getting out of myself and being with other people, like being a dad, being a husband, being a bandmate, like being a friend, helping someone out. Like if I'm out of myself, I'm great. If I'm inside all the time, I'm horrible. I'm a mess. And so for me, it's like that was kind of where I don't like my mind right now, stacking up problems that are so unnecessary. You know, that's where that was where that came from for me.